I've always been a fan of lost media. Whether I'm watching Blame It on George or L Supersonic Q, it's always a good time. Remember when the Billy and Mandy pilot was not what people expected? Or when that missing episode of Mr. Rogers was found? I'm always on the lookout for new lost media. And upon scrolling through some Jim Carrey stuff, I found an article about some missing scenes from Jim Carrey's 1994 comedy classic, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Jim Carrey is one of those rare comedians whose jokes can apply to both kids and adults and have the same effect. For me personally, Jim Carrey is one of my favorite comedians, and I know he's a treasure to a lot of others as well. And I couldn't find any videos on these missing scenes from Ace Ventura, so I thought I'd make it known. Deleted scenes are very common in movies. They're usually cut from theatrical release because they slow down the pacing or don't add much to the film. There are quite a few deleted scenes from Ace Ventura: Pet Detective that I already knew about. But for those unfamiliar with Ace Ventura, I'll run through the film. Ace Ventura: Pet Detective is a comedy released in 1994 starring Jim Carrey as a zany pet detective. But one day the Miami Dolphin gets kidnapped, and with nobody taking the case seriously, it's up to Ace Ventura to find it. But little does he know, the case he's solving just so happens to be linked to another case that's being taken very seriously, making Ace Ventura to be celebrated and not taken as a joke. The film launched Jim Carrey's career practically, and of course he's very common nowadays. At the time, this wasn't too heard of. And I'm certainly not the first to admit that the film was definitely a product of its time. A lot of things in the movie is deemed inappropriate today, but overall it's a fun, goofy classic. But new discoveries have suggested that the film was going to be much darker than it became. There are some dark scenes in the movie, but overall it's pretty light. And it is true that Jim Carrey co-wrote the film, making changes to the script to fit his comedy taste. But these missing scenes were really dark, and they were from Jim Carrey's rewrite, meaning that the scenes that are missing were okayed by Jim. According to the director Tom Shadyac, the scenes were cut for being too dark. I won't be going over all the missing scenes, but some of the scenes in question are an extended scene from a deleted scene, where we see Ray Finkel's hometown, and Ace at one point gets a gun pointed in his mouth, very similar to this scene.
I'm looking for Ray Finkel. And a clean pair of shorts.
I would have to guess the scene was cut because it slowed down the film. We don't really need to see his hometown. Probably the darkest scene of them all, and it's really graphic, is a dream scene where Jim is speeding in his car only to get knocked down and have a nightmare where he's being disembodied by a flock of pigeons. Only one still from the scene exists right now. This is the only surviving thing we have from the scene. There's another missing scene where Ace accidentally cuts off two people's heads and wipes off the blood, saying he will tell his lawyer. Yeah, it's kinda messed up. This was very interesting to look into. I'm probably going to do more videos on Jim Carrey topics and maybe Ace Ventura, because I know Ace Ventura is a classic to a lot of people and very close to people's hearts. I think this is a similar situation to John Hughes about Uncle Buck or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where the original cut of the movie is around 3 hours long and the theatrical cut is around an hour and a half. It's very fun to see what Ace Ventura: Pet Detective could have been. So I do believe Ace Ventura: Pet Detective was originally going to be much darker and much longer. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.